In this prison, a dangerous race is held,
He's too heavily armored!
where winning is the only way to reach freedom. Whoever emerges victorious in this life-threatening race is granted freedom from prison. But is it really that easy? Let's find out. The American economy was in a continuous decline. Unemployment and crime rates had reached their peak. In light of the deteriorating conditions, the government handed over the management of all prisons to private companies. These companies began to exploit the inmates for their own benefit, and the most notorious among them was Terminal Island Prison. Here, inmates were thrown into a deadly race known as the death race. This race was broadcast live and was immensely popular across America. One day, a fierce race was taking place at Terminal Island. Only 2 cars remained in the arena. One driven by Frankenstein and his co-driver Case, while the other was driven by a ruthless racer named Joe. Frank's car was in the lead, but suddenly all of its weapons stopped working. Joe was now continuously firing at his car, and the situation had become extremely precarious. Frank realized that his car could explode at any moment. He told Case, "Get out of here now." Case immediately jumped out with the help of a parachute. The next moment, Joe launched his final attack, and Frank's car was destroyed in a horrific explosion. The scene shifts, and we see a man named Jensen Ames, who works in a factory. After a tiring day, he returns home. After meeting his wife, he goes to see his little daughter. Suddenly, a masked man enters his home. Before anyone can comprehend the situation, he brutally murders his wife. When Jensen comes downstairs, he is stunned to see his wife's blood-soaked body. Before he can do anything, the stranger attacks him and places a knife in his hand. When Jensen regains consciousness, he finds himself surrounded by police. He is arrested on charges of murdering his own wife. Jensen is then sent to Terminal Island, a prison where the law has no existence. Here, he receives a special welcome from a cruel guard. The next day, while Jensen is having breakfast, some unruly inmates approach him and start provoking him. They spit in his food and make lewd comments about his wife. Hearing this, a flame of anger ignited within Jensen, and he brutally beat them all. But then the prison guards arrived and interrupted the fight. Jensen was presented before the prison warden Hennessy. When Hennessy looked at his file, she discovered that Jensen was an excellent car racer. Knowing this, Hennessy offered him the chance to become the new Frankenstein, as the real Frank had died in the explosion during the last race, a fact that no one was aware of yet. The warden explained that Frankenstein's popularity was at its peak across America. Thanks to him, the show's ratings were soaring, but since his death, no races had taken place for the past 6 months, causing viewer interest to decline. Fortunately, Frank always wore a mask, so if someone else came forward claiming to be him, no one would suspect a thing. The rules of the race were clear. Any inmate who won 5 consecutive races would be released from prison. Frank had already won 4 races, meaning if Jensen won just 1 more, he could be free. However, even after hearing this, Jensen rejected the offer and firmly told the warden, "I will not risk my life for your ridiculous game."
I want you to become Frankenstein. No thanks.
The warden smiled and coldly replied, "You will do this not for me, but for your daughter." She reminded Jensen that he was guilty of his wife's murder, and under this charge, he would have to spend years in prison. By the time you get out, your daughter won't even recognize you. With this thought, Jensen had no other option left and accepted the proposal. He was then introduced to the coach and his team, the people who repaired and modified Frank's car. This was the same team that had kept Frankenstein a winner until now. Every racer in prison had their own team that made their cars competition ready. On the other hand, some of the warden's people were working on a mysterious project known only to Hennessy. The coach showed Jensen the car, which was equipped with state-of-the-art weapons, but these weapons could only be activated during the race, preventing any inmate from using them to escape.
Where's the ammo? We get that on race day.
Escaping from this prison was nearly impossible. It was located in the middle of the sea, and the only way out was a narrow bridge. If anyone attempted to escape, police cars and helicopters would catch them in no time. The coach then explained the rules of the race to Jensen. The race was divided into 3 phases. The first phase was to eliminate as many competitors as possible, and the final phase was to race at full speed and cross the finish line. Just then, Joe approached the coach and said, "Even if Frank survived the last race, this time I won't let him live."
This time won't be no infirmary. It'll be the morgue.
As Jensen listened to their conversation, he noticed some inmates with tracking devices on their wrists. He then remembered that the hand of his wife's murderer also had the same device. This meant that his real enemy was one of these inmates. Days passed, and finally, the day of the race arrived. Jensen was dressed in Frank's mask and clothes. As he stepped onto the track, news of Frank's return spread like wildfire, and the popularity of the death race soared once again. The number of viewers on the live stream began to rise rapidly. Before the race began, the coach told Jensen that he could not talk to the other drivers, as the real Frank had done the same. However, he could remove his mask if he wanted, as the car's windows were designed in such a way that no one could see inside. Soon, the race began.
Dog left to 100 feet.
All the drivers started making deadly moves to overtake each other. Some were crashing into cars, while others were trying to push them off the track. In the meantime, the coach revealed a secret shortcut to Jensen, allowing him to get ahead in the race. As the warden initiated the attack and defense round, 3 types of symbols appeared on the track. Case explained to Jensen that if he chose the sword, all of his car's weapons would be activated, while choosing the shield would activate the smoke bombs and oil leak system, allowing him to defend himself. But if his car accidentally passed over the skull symbol, it would be crushed. As the rules took effect, gunfire echoed on the track. Jensen chose the sword and activated his weapons, but then his weapons jammed, and he couldn't fire. Seeing the situation deteriorate, Case quickly jumped out of the car and began fixing the weapon. Seeing this, the opponents rained bullets on her, but Jensen somehow managed to save her. Since Jensen was in the lead, Joe began firing at him continuously. Jensen tried to retaliate, but his weapon stopped working again. The coach was shocked to see this, as the same problem had occurred in the real Frank's car, which had led to his death. Joe kept attacking and Jensen's car was severely damaged. Just then, another driver crashed into Joe's car, causing a fight between them and giving Jensen a chance to escape. But then another car approached him, driven by Pachenko. Pachenko made the same gesture that Jensen's wife's murderer had made. Realizing this, Jensen understood that Pachenko was his wife's real killer. This revelation distracted Jensen, and Joe crashed into his car, leaving him behind as he crossed the finish line. By the end of the race, only 6 cars remained, with Joe in first place and Jensen in last. After the race, Jensen went to the warden and firmly said, "I will not race anymore because I now know who killed my wife. I also understand that I was deliberately brought to this prison so that a new Frankenstein could be found for this death race." But the warden was unfazed by his words. Instead, she threatened Jensen that if he even tried to leave the race, he might never see his daughter again. Reluctantly, Jensen had to continue the race. That night, while Jensen was repairing his car, he saw Pachenko and followed him. Suddenly, Pachenko's team attacked him and captured him. Pachenko brutally beat Jensen, and just as he was about to finish him off, a member of Jensen's team stabbed Pachenko in the neck with a sharp object. Seizing the opportunity, Jensen fought back and ruthlessly killed his enemies. Finally, Pachenko confessed that he had killed Jensen's wife at the warden's behest. Hearing this, Jensen's blood boiled, and he was about to kill him right there when the guards arrived and interrupted the bloody fight. The next day, a new phase of the race began. As usual, Pachenko tried to provoke Jensen, but this time, Jensen kept his cool and avoided any reaction. As the race started, Jensen deliberately drove his car slowly.
Pay attention.
What are you doing?
He directly asked Case, "Did you kill Frank?" because his car's weapons had not been activated for 2 consecutive times. Now, when Jensen threatened to throw her out of the moving car, Case finally broke her silence. She confessed that it was all the Warden Hennessy's orders. That same vile woman had instructed her to disable Frank's car weapons so that Frank would lose the race and remain in prison, keeping the show's ratings alive. As the truth came out, Jensen accelerated his car. In no time, he reached near Pachenko and began ramming his car repeatedly. Then he chose the sword symbol, activating all of his car's weapons. Pachenko, now behind, tried to attack.
You're out in front. Who are you going to shoot at?
But Jensen put his car in reverse gear and started firing wildly. Soon, he straightened his car and released a cloud of smoke. The thick smoke obstructed Pachenko's vision, causing his car to crash uncontrollably. Jensen also stopped his car, put on Frank's mask, and got out. He went to Pachenko, twisted his neck, and ended his game, taking revenge for his wife's murder. Meanwhile, Hennessy made her final move. She presented the devastating weapon she had been preparing for months, a massive tanker truck equipped with modern and extremely dangerous weapons. As this truck entered the race, it destroyed several cars. One by one, all the drivers exited, and eventually, only Jensen and Joe remained on the field. Jensen soon realized that he couldn't handle this powerful truck alone. He contacted Joe via walkie-talkie, and they devised a plan to defeat it together. They began ramming the truck repeatedly, but such small attacks did not harm the massive machine. Then they came up with a clever plan. They drove their cars through a special skull symbol. As soon as the truck crossed that symbol, a wall appeared, and the truck crashed into it, completely crushed.
Damn it!
With this, the second phase of the race ended. In the evening, while Jensen was fixing his car, Joe approached him and said, "Your voice is quite similar to Frank's, the one I spoke to today." It was clear that Joe now understood that the real Frank was dead and Jensen was taking his place. However, he did not respond and quietly walked away. Meanwhile, Hennessy had devised a plan to eliminate Jensen. She had planted a hidden bomb in his car, intending for it to end during the race. But by now, Jensen had figured out that winning this race and escaping was impossible, and Hennessy would never let him live. Now he also devised his strategy. He ordered his team to fill the car's reserve tank with fuel. But what was he going to do with this fuel? The secret was about to be revealed soon. The next day, as Jensen was preparing for the race, Hennessy approached him and handed him his release papers. She said, "Even if you win this race, you will still have to continue racing as Frank." Jensen did not respond and quietly walked away. When he reached his car, Case informed him that Hennessy had ordered her not to let Jensen win the race. But Jensen remained unfazed by all this and accelerated his car as soon as the race began. Now Hennessy revealed her true move. She activated only Joe's weapons while Jensen's weapons were disabled. Joe kept firing like a madman, and Jensen had to exert all his strength to avoid these attacks. Then Joe activated his rocket launcher and fired at Jensen's car. But instead of hitting the car, the rocket collided with a strong wall, causing the entire wall to collapse with a bang. This was all part of their planned escape, breaking the prison wall to gain freedom. Seeing this, Hennessy's anger reached new heights. She immediately activated the bomb planted in Jensen's car, but this move also failed, as the coach and his team had already removed the bomb from the car. Hennessy's frustration grew, and she deployed all police cars and helicopters after Jensen and his team. Jensen, sensing the situation, leaked fuel from his reserve tank, causing a massive explosion. The intensity of the blast halted all police cars, and seizing this opportunity, they crossed the bridge and fled in different directions. But now the helicopters were focused solely on Jensen, as capturing him was the top priority. At this critical juncture, Case decided to help Jensen, as Hennessy had also handed her the release documents. Case quickly took the driver's seat, and Jensen jumped out of the car into the darkness. Meanwhile, Case distracted them by speeding away, while Jensen escaped with Joe on a train. The helicopters pursued them, causing a massive explosion that forced Case to stop the car. But before the police could catch her, she cleverly donned Frank's clothes and mask. When she emerged from the car, she surrendered, making the police believe they had captured Jensen, while in reality, it was Case behind the mask. Just as Hennessy was about to celebrate this success, a mysterious gift box arrived for her. As she opened it, her eyes widened in shock. It was the same bomb she had planted in Jensen's car. This gift was from the coach. Then, with the press of a button, an explosion occurred, and Hennessy's story came to an end. Time passed, and now Jensen and Joe had opened their own garage. Jensen was reunited with his daughter, and they were all happy in their new lives. Sometime later, Case was also released from prison and came to meet them in her new shiny car.
She has beautiful eyes.
If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.